So, the short sea route, it's critical that you get fast turnaround, and has been the case for many years. We're now nearly 2 years on from the referendum on to leave the European Union. What guidance have any of you received from the Treasury or the Home Office on preparation for Brexit from our side of our government side of things?
We had several meetings with the Port of Dover, but the most important problem is that we know that there's Brexit, but we don't exactly know what Brexit means. So there are several scenarios. Obviously, we're working on several scenarios in order to be prepared for the worst. But today it's a bit hard to see where we will go and at what time we will reach this target.
What information have customs officials in France and Belgium provided ahead of Brexit to French and Belgian port operators?
Well, they all say prepare for the worst. But they say, yeah, we will try to prepare for the worst. But even that, they do not know the details of that. And that's the point. You should not. I mean, everybody knows what's the decision. So, but let's start on technical things, on technical prepare on practical things, and that should be started immediately, because even the transition period is not certain. They speak about transition, and it's more or less decided, but we do not know if it's really decided or not. So that's also a problem.
In response to Mr. Elphick, you did say that you're getting guidance or working with government across departments. Have they not given you any guidance as to what you might prepare for in terms of the specification required?
Well, I think at this stage, whilst we're still waiting for the clarity in the negotiation, we can only discuss different scenarios and then take note and be ready that one of them might be the eventual solution.
I'll take that as a polite way of saying no.
Yes.
You mentioned just-in-time logistics in passing. I just wanted to probe a little bit more about that, specifically as it relates to manufacturing and the manufacturing supply chain. Could I just ask all the witnesses just to give a sense of some general information about how much of your business relates to that particular aspect, so like by volume or by value or whatever?
I would say that pretty much all of our business is just in time or time sensitive, and that's why people choose the Channel Tunnel route. We can go up to 8 departures per hour for truck shuttles, and that means that a truck turning up at our terminal, even if it misses a departure, will only have to wait a few minutes for the next one. So it is a rolling motorway, it keeps the traffic flowing and nobody loses time. So it means that when delivery deadlines are set to be within a 1 hour or a 2 hour period, then a transporter can guarantee to his end customer that they're going to make that delivery. The just-in-time nature in manufacturing terms has gone another level now, and it's not just in time, it's also just in sequence, and that's a whole different ballgame, because it means that the goods have to arrive in the order of the production line itself. So the example in the car manufacturing industry is that the red car is followed by the blue car, is followed by the green car, and when the truck arrives, the wing mirrors come off, red, blue, green, and they go on to the cars in that order. And if that truck is delayed, then the production line is thrown into disruption. If you then take it into the food world, then we're delivering fresh produce onto shelves 24 hours a day. Our supermarkets are open 24/7, and our customers expect the goods to be there when they want them through the year. So strawberries at Christmas time is now a norm, and people expect that to be delivered by road from Spain through the Channel Tunnel and onto the shelves. And the just when I need it side is the internet retail revolution that has happened over the last 20 or so years, where people can now order goods for next day delivery and even same day delivery. And this means that the continuous flow is sometimes a driver is going backwards and forwards through the Channel Tunnel 2 or 3 times per day, bringing deliveries in from warehouses in Belgium or Holland or the north of France, and delivering again and again, and also taking goods out from the UK into those Northern European countries too. So what people pay for is it's a premium for time, and customers in the transport industry and customers across all sectors, manufacturing, distribution, retail, pharmaceuticals, are very happy to do that because it gets their produce to the customer when the customer wants it.
Do you think that the potential tariff cost is greater, is a greater problem than the potential for spending time dealing with complicated rules of origin checks, for example?
Well, it adds all to each other.
Okay, so both, it's all.
Yeah.
Anything that adds time into this equation, whether it's time filling out documents at the point of dispatch, whether it's so needing more people to actually complete information that's required, whether it's ensuring that a process is documented properly and information is exchanged at the right times, it's a system or it's people, all of those things are time somewhere. Anything that physically stops the flow of traffic can be considered to be a failure in the warehouse. The goods are not being delivered. The impact isn't necessarily on the transporter or on the cross-channel carrier, because the goods will still be going backwards and forwards, but there's a creeping impact on industry because they're not getting goods in a timely manner, or on consumers because they're not getting the choice and the quality of goods that they're expected. And the just when I need it is I need it now, not in 2 or 3 days, and I've become used to getting it now. So there's a cost to me in terms of quality terms. So the place that we need to be is ensuring that whatever the specification that's given in the agreement, that when it's eventually reached, it allows all of those things to be dealt with. So that we're not delaying goods, we're not causing disruption to the economic chain, because at the end of the day, it's the factories and the consumers that are the beneficiaries of the way this process works.
Okay, but basically, your message is time is money, and the more checks and regulatory involvement there has to be, the more time that will take. Yeah.
Mr. Thompson, the head of HMRC, who will be giving evidence shortly, told this committee that one of the risks of the highly streamed customs arrangement is that there's no guarantee that EU ports such as Calais would have implemented the necessary arrangements in time, even if the agreement was there between the UK and the EU. Do you think you'll be in a position to implement the sorts of changes required by the highly streamlined customs arrangement by January 2021, Mr. Rocher?
We'll have to anyway. We'll have to.
But would you be able to?
Today, Calais is a very tiny port. I don't know if you've already crossed the channel via Calais. We are building a new port, so we'll have some spare space. What's more, there's a factory that has been dismantled a few years ago just close to the port, so we'll be able to find some land, because it's a question of land, and then we'll have to build things on these parcels. But the first thing is just to find the appropriate space in order to build halls and things like that, so that the customs and the sanitary inspection would be able to do their job.
And you can do that within the time frame?
Clock is running. Time is running, yeah.
Sorry?
Time is running, so we need to have the...
I hear words like we have to and we need to, but will you be able to? Can you give us a commitment that you can absolutely do that? Yes or no?
We'll do that.
Sorry?
Yeah, anyway, we will have no choice,
Yeah,
so we
no
can't
choice.
close the port, so we will do
Okay.
what we will
okay.
have to do.
In terms of the breakdown of the administrative burden, where do you see that going between government, business, and the port authorities? The sort of the distribution. Who will bear those costs? Who would like to come in? Mr. Keith?
The consumer will bear the costs.
It will be passed on to consumers.
At the end of the day, whichever
Yeah.
route is chosen to pay for the costs up front, at the end of the day they get passed down through the chain. So the bigger the cost in developing the more that will eventually find its way through. I don't think there's any other way to look at this. Businesses can absorb a certain amount of additional costs from additional legislative requirements, and does on a regular basis. That's our part of the arrangement. But at the end of the day, if the impact is across the whole of the supply chain and across the whole of the economy, then inevitably at some point that gets passed down to the consumer.
Okay.
But the costs that we're talking about for the ports, I mean, again, that's something that obviously the three of your organisations, other ports, have to absorb. Again, you would expect eventually to recoup that in terms of presumably people paying to access your services.
Again, it's part of the process. We will constantly be looking for the time advantage. We'll constantly be looking for the best technology or the best solution to ensure that our customers can get across as quickly as possible. And our customers want that speed, and they are prepared to pay the premium for it. But the premium just changes.
HMRC recently told us that they've been sharing the technical specifications underpinning their highly streamlined customs arrangements with ports, so that they can think in advance of the changes they need to make. Have you had sight of these? Has anyone had sight of these?
That meeting, the beginning of July, 4th of July.
Sorry?
I think a meeting is planned at the Port of Dover on the 4th of July. So I think we know.
Great. Thank you. And I just have one final question. At this stage, do you think it's possible or likely that either the partnership model will be ready for implementation without extending the transition period? I know you said that you have to do it within the deadline. It'd be interesting to know what others think as well. And do you think that period is sufficient to make the adjustments for the new period?
The transition period of 2 years is fine,
Yeah.
provided that we know from the beginning of that transition period what we have to do. If this transition period means uncertainty during the transition period, then we will never be ready. Never. It's not possible. I mean, even you say, okay, it's already 2 years, but we do not know yet what has to be there. So if we know what has to be there, then a transition period of 2 years is fine to prepare, I think.
So, in summary, it all feels very complex and overwhelming to those listening. Wouldn't it just be better to stay with the customs union? Wouldn't life be a lot easier for everybody, and the cost would be
Would be definitely easier.
mitigated?
The business we're in relies on keeping traffic moving. We're in the transport industry. We move things from A to B. We help service the whole of the logistics supply chain that serves industry and consumers on both sides of the channel. It works when it flows smoothly.